Hi, this is Kevin McPartland, Senior Analyst with TABB Group, and I'm here with Shawn Melamed, the founder and CTO of Correlix. There's been a lot of talk about latency transparency, both from the SEC and from the industry. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means and sort of how that definition has evolved over time?
Sure. So I think when you look at latency transparency, basically looking at the ability to understand what's the latency behavior of different parties within the ecosystem of trading. And the different parties usually would be how a sell-side broker behaves in terms of latency, or how the exchange is behaving in terms of latency, and providing transparency to that type of information back to the customers. So customers that today are actually looking at some of these entities as very opaque or black box almost can understand better how they work, and then can fine-tune the way they work with these counterparties to achieve better execution for their trades and in general better efficiency within the market.
So is this data something that the SEC should be looking to collect, or is that something that a firm like yours should be providing to the industry? How should that process work from a regulatory perspective?
It's a good question. I think as the market evolves, it's definitely clear that the need for this type of data resides on different levels. So from the perspective of each of the organizations, like a big sell-side broker firms, they can use this information to generate more profits or better execution for their customers, as well as better efficiency internally. SEC can use this information to actually provide more transparency on how the markets work, and then actually manage to understand better in front of all the wider audience of trading why low latency is not necessarily a bad thing, but actually being transparent about it, just like any other kind of type of order that you're doing in the market.
Now it seems that this data has more use beyond just reporting, that firms are actually looking to figure out how they can use that data within a trading algorithm to trade more effectively. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen and sort of what Correlix is doing in this space?
Sure. So what we introduced into this market is actually the ability to use latency data as a latency feedback to algorithms in black box. And if you're looking at different type of firms, again, a sell-side broker that need to select the fastest venue in a particular time would use latency data side-by-side pricing information to understand what's the best achievable price. A buy-side or high-frequency trading firm might use this information to tune better the type of way they're doing a market-making strategy in order to make sure there is a better liquidity and avoid undue exposure with a particular market or particular symbol. So we see different firms starting to go to the next level of not just trying to reduce and minimize latency, but actually looking at that as another factor in how they make their decisions, and try to put that side by side with the other factors that makes their decision, to make sure the decision, looking at the holistic landscape and the current snapshot of the markets in terms of the achievable price versus what's just the price out there, or what's my latency to a particular venue.
Right. It might seem on the surface that measuring the time it takes to get from point A to point B is relatively straightforward. So clearly it's not that easy. So can you explain a little bit about sort of how that works and why it's sort of taken us this much time to get to where we are?
Sure. So I think if you look at the trading world, is a very fragmented market in a way. A lot of proprietary type of protocols have evolved over the years, and measuring latency as just network hop or ability to transmit a message is only really very small piece of the overall puzzle. So in a typical trading transaction, you may have a holder starting from a buy side, going through a risk check, through a broker, going to the market, going through the market infrastructure to the matching engine, and then flowing all the way back through these different tiers back to the customer. And the challenge is really tying all those different pieces together into one consistent view of how that flows look like and how much time the transaction has spent in each component along the way. Of course, the point-to-point hop between, for example, the buy side and the sell side, but also the processing time on the risk check gateway, the processing time on the gateway to the market, and within the matching engine. So latency transparency, where we started the conversation from, really means the ability to understand each of those steps, whether they're within your organization, within your infrastructure, or actually in the counterparties you're working with.
It's pretty amazing. We've gone from a time when this kind of data was for infrastructure professionals and it was looked at in log files, and now it's really become a core tool to the business for trading.
Sure, and I think the translation of latency data, by definition, is the ability to understand what's the timing it takes you to execute an order, or what's the timing it takes you to understand pricing data, became as relevant to a trader as they used to trade any kind of other type of information. And I think that's really the transformation in the market, is people understand latency impacts the quality of their execution, their profitability, and they factor that back into their algorithm rather than just leaving that as an infrastructure problem.
It's amazing, and I'm sure we're only just getting started. Great, thanks. Again, this is Kevin McPartland, Senior Analyst with TABB Group. I'm here with Shawn Melamed, founder and CTO of Correlix. And until next time.